Hello, friends. Welcome to the ATC Double Cut. I am joined live today from Kea Golf Club in beautiful, sunny Fukuoka, Japan, by Andrew McDaniel, the golf course superintendent and assistant general manager of Kea Golf Club. Welcome back to the ATC Double Cut, Andrew.
Thank you, Micah. Good morning. It's been a while.
It's been a while to be on the show, but we've been fortunate to meet a few times over the past couple of years. I've enjoyed that.
We have. I have too.
And you have recently been taking some continuing education courses, I understand, some webinars to keep up with the education requirement or whatever those points required are to keep your Class A status with GCSAA. Is that correct?
That's correct. I have.
And it's been interesting because you've been taking screenshots of some of the webinars that you've been taking, and you've sent me things like, "Can you believe this?" or "Micah, have you ever read that?" And just yesterday you sent one of an article, and you said, "Micah, have you read this article about the 5-day program for adjusting mowing height after top dressing?"
Yes.
And it turned out that, of course, I have read that. And in fact, I not only had read it, I'd written a blog post about it back in 2010. So I wrote that to you and I said, I used to be a big fan of this. I used to recommend this. And the title of my blog post back in 2010 was, "If I were a superintendent, I would try this," because
Right.
I used to be an advocate for putting as much sand as absolutely conceivably possible. And
Right.
I'm no longer a fan of that. I just wanted to talk with you a little bit. I know you're at work today and you're out on the course and don't have so much time, but let's talk a little bit about a couple of things. Why the 2024 approach that I have now is probably better than what I was recommending back in 2010. And you can explain to me just how unfeasible it is to adjust the mowing height for 5 days in a row. And also, let's talk about why this is stuff that you're learning about in 2024 when you're taking this continuing education. Why are you learning about stuff? And not only this, but some of the other stuff about how much sand should be applied per year, how much surface area should be removed per year, that seems like it's 25-year-old information, and it's not really the way that we'd want to manage today.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of bizarre that I was looking at an article that was, I didn't even realize it was 24 years or 14 years ago article, but yeah, you think about it. We used to think that way though. We need to put this sand out, and how should we go about doing it? And yeah, lowering the height before you put it out, then raising it back up after you put it out. But yeah, these days I would just think it'd be nuts to even think about doing stuff like that.
Yeah, it certainly seemed when I read that in 2010, I had the idea of like, wow, here's a method, here's a technique that you can use to be successful in putting out all of this sand. And I just assumed, in fact, I'll bring up the blog post that I wrote yesterday, and I'll put a direct link to this in the show notes. I gave it a title, "A Chance to Update My Advice." And in that original post, I made this statement. I said, "The necessity of regular sand top dressing to dilute organic matter on golf course putting greens is unquestioned." That's what I said that's what I wrote back in 2010. So
Mm-hmm.
I was coming in with that assumption, and then I read this article, and I was unquestionably accepting that we needed to apply that much sand.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, okay, here's a method that maybe allows us to do that.
Right. I
But
can.
go ahead.
No, I was just saying I could remember back in the day when we were thinking we needed to top dress weekly or even every 2 weeks or something like that, and then you think about picking up sand and the mowers and all that, and okay, how do we go about doing that? And then yeah, looking back on that article, it's like thinking I would do that today would just be uh, unimaginable. Yeah.
So did you read that article yesterday?
Yeah, it was yesterday or 2 days ago. Yeah.
And and so basically it's like you come in and before a top dress you reduce the mowing height by 10% or 15%,
Yeah. A
something like
couple of,
that.
yeah, 2 millimeters or something. Yeah.
And then you spread the sand,
Right.
and then you raise the mowing height, and
Right.
then you lower it down like for 3 days in a row to get back to your original pre-top dressing height.
Right.
How how
Go
often
back,
do you normally change mowing heights now?
I don't like to change at all. The only time I would change is going into a tournament, and that would be just to lower it down. But yeah, I don't like to change at all, actually.
It seems like there's so much risk of some mistakes. If you've got multiple machines, so many reels, and you're changing the mowing height every single day.
Yeah, I guess some people have the resources to maybe try something like that, but I would think it's very practical for
Yeah,
us.
it certainly it seemed like something that I was like, well, it's a necessary evil. That's what I thought 14 years ago. It's like, well, we have to put this sand, and clearly, if we put the sand and then pick it up with the mowers, that's no good. So, so I was so excited about that article of like, wow, here's a really practical method from a golf course superintendent in the Carolinas. It's written by Todd Pippin, I believe the name is, and he is a golf course superintendent. So I trust that he's able to accomplish this, and it's like it's working. And here's a method to not pick up so much sand and allow you to put that sand down all the time. But then it's like I just can't imagine doing that much work now.
No, I couldn't imagine it either. Exactly.
So so the reason why I've changed my recommendation, and specifically the recommendation that I make now, I said I'd apply just enough sand to produce the type of surface and growing environment that I need to produce. To achieve that and to find out how much sand that needs to be, I'd measure how much the grass grows. I'd measure the playing conditions. I'd measure how much sand I actually apply, which back in 2010, I wasn't even paying so much attention to the exact amount applied. It was just like as much and as frequently as possible. And I'd measure exactly how the organic matter changes in the soil, and specifically the total organic material by the OM246 test. So I do that and check how that changes, and that tells us if we're putting enough sand or not. So from that information, I'd make sure that I was applying enough sand. That's what I would do today, and and knowing that that's what I would do today. Looking back on my advice from 2010, looking back on that article, it just seems impossible. Is what it
Yeah.
seems like.
At, back in the back in that during that time, it was like, how do we go about applying this top dressing, or how can we do it? Instead of now, we're like, okay, how can we get away from it, and how can we prevent from disturbing the surface so much as before? It was like, okay, how do we disturb it more?
What led you as a golf course superintendent to change your thinking? Because I think you changed your thinking before I changed mine. I was probably still recommending a lot of disruption and a lot of sand.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of forced to change my thinking because I got two tournaments in the peak season, and that's do all of our cultural work. So I tried to do it the first couple of years, and it just got to be a hassle trying to get the greens ready for the tournaments. So I just gradually started backing off of the cultural work, and then things just kept getting better and better. And I'm thinking, well, maybe we don't need to be doing this.
And I observed that, and I listened to what you were saying, and I was scared to death to implement it, which is that's where I started getting into the OM246, because I was aware of that method, but I'd never really seen the value in it. And then you said you wanted to cut back on sand top dressing to the amount that was like 1 or 2 times a year, was
Right.
basically like we're never going to put sand out. And I was
Right.
like, man, I understand what you're saying, that when you don't put sand, the conditions get better and better. But I didn't expect that that could last forever.
Right.
And I wanted to make sure that it wasn't accumulating where we didn't see it, where it was accumulating in the soil and suddenly it would come bite us sometime when you got a rainy day during one of those tournaments or something. So we started testing that, and then it turns out, actually, if you control the growth, if you don't over fertilize, and if you do a reasonable amount of maintenance work, the organic matter doesn't get out of control. And it turns out that you were able, with 1 or 2 sand top dressings a year, to keep the organic matter at a level that the conditions do like get better and better and better and kind of stay that way.
Right. Yeah. This past year we only did 1 top dressing. Conditions were probably the best I've ever had them in for the tournament, and I don't know. Maybe next year we dial back the nitrogen a little bit in the greens like we did this year, and who knows? We might not even top dress next year.
And you know what? I would have, if you would have told me this 10 years ago, I would have said that's ridiculous and impossible. And you tell me that now, and I just kind of chuckle, and I'm optimistic that it will work, and I think it's safe. And 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 the reason why I think it's safe and the reason why I'm optimistic is I feel like you're measuring everything that you need to tell you what that result will be, because you're measuring the playability, you're measuring how much the grass grows above ground with clipping volume, you're keeping track of the work that you do, and we're measuring on an annual basis the OM246. So we're measuring exactly what's happening in the soil. So from that, we can have the confidence to say, yeah, we're at this level of organic material in the soil. The surfaces are performing great. And if you cut back on the nitrogen, cut back on the top dressing, you can see how things change.
Right. Right. Exactly. We're not going at this blind. We're measuring what we need to be measuring and going about it like that. So yeah, for some people that think we're just winging it and going at it blindly, then that's not right. We're actually measuring what we need to be measuring.
But
Sure.
but it's not like too much measuring work. It's like
Oh yeah,
it
exactly. Yeah.
it's a bit of a hurdle to get going with it, I suppose. But the biggest hurdle is getting started. But it's like so routine now to measure the clipping volume, to
Yeah,
keep track of how much nitrogen you apply, and so on.
yeah. The only daily measurements are clipping volume and then the occasional nitrogen application, and then tournament conditions. And then you take your soil samples and your OM246, and that's about it.
Yeah. So, what do you think? It's a little bit surprising for me, a little bit disappointing. It's not the GCSAA's fault, but it's the people that's teaching the seminars that I'm a little bit disappointed with.
Yeah.
Why are these seminars that you're getting from respected professors in the American golf industry, why are they teaching things that you think are, or I'm not going to say what you think, but I think they're a little bit dated. They're 10 or 15 years old in the recommendations, and there are better, more modern ways to manage putting surfaces. Why do you think that is, and what do you feel when you're taking this kind of continuing education and then you're like, well, I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. I've already done that.
Right. It's the way we've been thinking the past 7 or 8 years. It's totally the opposite way. And I mean, what they're saying is not bad. It's not the wrong thing. But um, I know back when I was in school, it was like the thing that was said was what's good for golf is not good for the grass, and what's good for grass is not good for golf, kind of thing. But I mean, I guess you could find better ways to make what you're doing good for golf as well. I don't know. Either some of these professors that they're not getting out and actually seeing what's going on the golf course as much as the others are. I honestly don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have a good answer for it either. I, it's like people, I don't know.
Hey, maybe they're listening to superintendents that want to be doing more, and then they're trying to justify doing more in some of these presentations or seminars. Whereas there's, I guess, the other half of us are trying to figure out how to do not as much. I don't know.
Yeah, there's kind of a split in the industry, I think, between those who are trying to do more to get good conditions and those who are trying to get good conditions in the most efficient way possible, which leads you to you end up doing less sand top dressing. So yeah, that's one. I don't know, maybe 15 years from now people will look back on this and say we didn't know what we're talking about, but it sure looks good from the perspective of where we're sitting and standing right now.
Right?
Yeah.
Never know. Just keep trying to find better ways to do things.
Yeah, me too. I think it's interesting when I write the blog or I write articles and stuff. I get to see how in what seems like a short period of time, which is just 10 or 15 years, I've almost done a 180-degree turn in my thinking about some issues about turfgrass management. And I often remark to people how I'm surprised that I can be 48 years old and been working in this industry for 30 plus years, and I still keep changing how I recommend doing things and keep learning new things and learning new techniques. And I guess in my role, it's easy to make those changes, but sometimes for people maybe that don't, I don't know. Sometimes people I think they learn something and then they want to teach something and they don't update it as fast because they think, well, this was learned, we know it, so now we're going to teach it. Where it's such a developing industry, maybe we have to throw the old information away more quickly than we're accustomed to.
Right.
All right, Andrew. Well, that's just I wanted to share this with people and get a superintendent's perspective on it. And since you were the person who sent me that particular article and asked if I'd read it, and of course I had read it and written about it, I was glad that we could have a little chat about this.
Yeah, you bet.
All right. Thanks a lot, Andrew. I will let you go.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone. That was an episode about the most recent blog post. I will put a direct link to that in the show notes. And I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this today. And if you have any questions, you can always get in touch with me through the ATC or Pace Turf websites. I will be back again soon with more turfgrass information. For now, I will sign off for ATC from Trong, Thailand. I'm Michael Woods. Bye-bye.